Hi, this is Cecilia from Tarot by Cecilia, and this is your love and finance tarot guidance for the month of April 2017. And what a month it is. I wish I could say it's going to be the best month of the year, but I really don't think so. For those of you out there who already follow me on Patreon, I want to thank you very much for the feedback. It's all so wonderful and positive. And I want to let everybody else out there who may not be on Patreon know that the tarot guidance that's offered there goes more in depth. Like, I'm getting ready to tell you what's happening this month. Many of these things will have their own specific tarot guidance, which will help give you greater depth to guide you through, as well as the new moon, the full moon, and your own sun sign for the month of April. So I encourage you to check it out because it really does add additional layers and help break it down, from the generalities that, like, perhaps what this reading contains. However, let's talk about what's here now. In the month of April, on the 2nd, Venus retrograde, remember it's already retrograde, will go back into the sign of Pisces. On the 6th, Saturn will then retrograde through August 25th. Does this every year, but that doesn't make it any easier nonetheless. On the 9th, Mercury will retrograde in the sign of Taurus, and it will be retrograde through May the 3rd. On the 11th, we will have our annual full moon in Libra. On the 15th, this is a most notable thing, Venus will go direct. It has seemed like an eternity, even though it's been maybe just a matter of weeks, okay? But it will not leave shadow until, I think, May 17th. So keep that in mind. You may still have some Venus retrograde issues going on even after the 15th. On the 19th, the Sun enters the sign of Taurus. Then on the 20th, Pluto will retrograde through September 28th. Here again, Pluto retrogrades every year, almost the same amount of time, and but it's still, it does affect many people. Now, also on the 20th, Mercury retrograde will go back into the sign of Aries. Then on the 21st, Mars moves on and goes into Gemini. On the 26th, we have a new moon in Taurus. Then on the 28th, Venus re-enters the sign of Aries. Now, for this reading, I am using the beautiful third deck Carnival from the people at 78 Tarot. Okay, they are getting ready to come out with a Kickstarter for their fourth deck, which will be Astral Tarot in Space, and the images are going to be absolutely phenomenal. You tarot collectors out there are going to love it. Now, when I look at these cards, the first thing that comes to mind is this Saturn retrograde, okay? And we all know how restrictive Saturn can be. So, oh my goodness. And it's kind of like battling in a way, okay? Because we have all these breakout energies taking place this year, with Jupiter opposing Uranus, having already done so twice. And there's a third transit coming up on September 28th. So, there's that, it's like, you hear how I'm talking? It's like, that's how you're feeling. April is going to be one of those things, like when you see someone who's trying to, fight their way out of something, like out of a paper bag or a restrictive situation. That is so much how it feels. However, I'm not seeing it in a bad way. You see, you've been trying to go forward, and you are going forward, but there's also that feeling of it taking 3 months before you get to a spot, like the universe drops you off somewhere where you can go, there's my future, okay? That's not something that you see this month. You really have to continue. You will, however, in spite of feeling somewhat restricted, you will have clarity, and you are working on freeing yourself from these situations, okay? As far as, boy, this is a tough one, okay, because there's a lot of going within and a lot of outward work that needs to be done as well. So, you're going to be giving a lot of thought to things. You're working on decisions that are for your new identity. We've been talking about this new identity, and it's coming. I think that by, I want to say like late September, very late September, October, you know what it is. Like you're like, wow, I've arrived at this new part of life that I've never seen before. And it's a good thing. All right. So along the way, you have numerous decisions to make. And, this month I think that's where you're intuitively saying to yourself, okay. Because one of the things we've discussed many times is the patterns that we have in our choices. All right. Let's talk relationships for a minute. Okay. How many of you out there have had repeated relationships, not with the same individual, but where it always seemed to end the same way? And even though maybe you thought each person was a little bit different, it just didn't work out. And what you're doing here is finding your way out of that, that box you've been in, where you start thinking about what was your criteria for how you chose, that type of thing. So, in other words, you're learning this month, all these retrogrades going on. You've got Saturn and Pluto and Mercury and Venus and Jupiter, right? They want you to back up and take a look. Where have you been before, and how did that go for you? Okay, so you're taking a good look. I think this is giving you the clarity that you need that helps you go forward. So in other words, if you finally come to the realization of what the patterns have been in your choices, there's a saying, how's it go? If you keep on doing what you're doing, you keep on getting what you're getting, something like that. And I'm sure everyone will let me know exactly what that saying's supposed to be. But that's it. It's like that's where your clarity comes in. It might be like an aha moment where you're breaking out of that, you've had yourself confined in this way of thinking for far too long. So there's so much that's happening here. Breaking away from not just restrictive situations, but bad habits. If there have been things, oh my goodness, I hope so, where you can get away from, whether it was dietary or, drugs, alcohol, addictions, being able to say no, being able to say, all right, that's not who I choose to be. So there's some really powerful energy here at play. So I don't think that when you feel that, restriction where you think the universe is holding you back, it wants you to stop and think. So take the time to stop and think. Change and the abundance that comes with it. It comes through persistence. It comes through determination. In other words, those of you out there who like to comment, I hope so. Hope will not make it happen, my friends. Okay? This is, hard work on your part. There's things that you have felt where you've been a little bit cheated by the universe. But that's all working on changing, because you're working toward a major manifestation in your life. And this is not all about, all of the glory associated with it. There shouldn't be a need for every accomplishment to have people patting you on the back or anything of that nature. I would have to say that to really, truly pull it off, just working behind the scenes and getting the job done is what will manifest the greatest possibilities for you. I think this month holds some up and down moments, all right? You're trying to be creative, but at the same time, there may be some overwhelming moments. There may be some moments where you're like, look, I've got this far. Don't make me go back. You're not going back. You're really moving on. And that almost sounds a little bit conflicting, but it's not, okay? It's just the pace is perhaps not the pace for which you were hoping, okay? But the clarity that you achieve this month is really a good thing. And it brings with it, I want to say, victory over worry. If there's something that's been troubling you that you're always thinking about and you're wondering, like, Maybe you just had a difficult time doing it. And then all of a sudden you just do it. Um, I think you surprise yourself. It's like one of those magical moments where instead of worrying about it, you're doing. So this is where your creativity comes in handy. And it could be any situation. It could be that you've made all this progress, but at the same time, there was something like this one thing, I just can't seem to do it. And then you do it. So good for you. Now, I see Venus retrograde here. All right. And as I said, Venus will be going direct on the 15th. There's a lot that has come up about relationships. And I don't mean just love relationships, relationships in general. People you know, people you work with, whatever's going on. It's that, you know, how do you, see, you've worked so hard at some of this and you're trying to figure it out. And you got to remember, Venus is both love and money. So there's a lot of attention that Venus has made you pay to things that maybe you weren't giving enough attention to before. All right. So between, finances, jobs, relationships, there has been some sort of disillusionment, especially with choices. All right. And the universe wants you to look at things for what they truly are. And as I have stated before, this was not a time, for buying engagement rings. It was not a time for becoming engaged, getting married, starting new relationships. It was more a time for review. It was also not a time for breaking up. So, here you are. Okay. I think there's finally some form of success with this. Those of you who are in a relationship that should continue, when you get to the other side of that, you're going to start to see. That's part of the clarity that's coming in this month. All right? Maybe that's one of the situations that's had you feeling trapped because you didn't know what to do about it. I think you finally have success with it. Okay? So, because there's a renewal that's there. I still would not make any major decisions regarding relationships until May 22nd. All right? Let Venus and Mercury both do their thing, get through their shadow period, and be done with it. And you'll feel much better about the choices that you've made. So see, this month is a lot of stuff in your face about your choices, relationships, things that are going on, any financial situations that you have. There's a lot here to think about, which is all the more reason to slow down, right? All of this clarity that you're achieving is going to help you organize your life. Because I think you'll look at things differently now, where when it comes to prioritizing things, I think your priorities are different than they were a couple years ago. So you really, truly are able to be creative. And, whether it's to stand up and lead just yourself or to lead a group of people, you're definitely able to have that creative vision for change that you need. Now, there is a door. There is a door on something from your past that you find you can close. But boy, there's a lot of memories there. Wow. That's given me, really making me wonder. But nonetheless, before the month is over, where you felt so restricted at the beginning of the month, there is a sense of freedom. I want to say over the last 4 or 5 years, something that's been going on. So this makes you feel pretty good. It's, rather fulfilling for you, to say the least. Even with all of these things that are going on, with all of these retrogrades, I still think that it's possible to have new doors open, to celebrate opportunities. So I'm really liking that a lot. Okay? Now, a lot of what is happening in your life is about balancing it out. And the better you become at that, the better things become. So part of balance is patience. And that's a tough one for some people to get used to. Being grounded helps you find solutions to stressful situations. And one of the things is, boy, it's like there will be challenges, but you'll be able to rise to those challenges. And I'm not saying that this is a stressful month for everyone, but I do recommend going and listening to your sun sign on Patreon, because some of those were really rather intense. They were very lengthy this month, and you might want to check them out. The various degrees of intensity that you'll experience in your own life will, of course, depend upon who you are and where things fall in your personal chart. But, there's a great deal this month to be learned, okay? I want to say that it is time to be a student of the universe. And one of the themes that's been coming up that's happening now, I think like in these next 3 months, all right, like March, April, May, June, that time frame, somewhere in there, is that where before everything you did felt like you were the only one doing it and there was no one helping you and there was nothing happening. Now is when you start to bring the proper people into your life to make things happen. So you're not functioning alone. You're going to begin to function as a unit, whether you're directing what's going on or you're a part of it, like a part of a team. But I think the way I try to equate it is that, if you were going to sell your house, you need to hire a realtor. You might need to find someone to help you, fix things cosmetically. You might be looking for a little more curb appeal. It's like a whole list of things, but there are things that you can't do it all yourself. So that's where the difference lies. But this teamwork, whatever you're involved in, it's bringing you success. It's bringing you new beginnings. And the new beginnings are a success over the hard times that you've been experiencing. So as you gain more clarity this month, over the next 3 months, you will be choosing the things which will bring you happiness, all right? So even though you may not realize it every day, you're on the road to take you there, okay? You're on a more stable road. Your foundation is more secure at this time, all right? And I think when the sun enters Taurus, toward the end of the month, that slows you down a little bit. And that's a good thing, all right? So you're just going to keep on persisting. And I think that you'll find when we arrive to May, love and finance, and we're talking about it, that there will be a great deal to discuss, especially when we get to that 3rd week. In the meantime, be patient with yourself. Make sure you think things through. And I'll see you here again real soon. Take care.